We're talking today about youth participation, leadership, engagement. Who's a youth leader here? Four youth leaders in the room. Wow. Over to you,
All right.
Kasim.
Thank you. Thank you, moderator. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Qasim Farasat, and I'm presenting on the youth political participation and engagement, a pathway to a peaceful and sustainable future in the Commonwealth. Um, so I'll have to queue for the slide. So please bear with me when I give thank you. So next slide. So just a quick introduction about myself before we move into the content. Um, I'm a co-founder of a youth-led organization, Institute for Sustainable Development and Cooperation. It's based in Canada, and it is focusing on the youth participation and engagement in policy and decision making. That's really what my youth work has been for the last 7, 8 years now. And now I'm working with the governments to enhance and promote the participation platforms where the youth could connect with the government through my organization. I've been an executive to the Commonwealth Youth Council from 2018 to 2022. So my tenure ended last year. And I'm joined today by one of my colleagues who was part of my committee back in the time. Now she herself is a Youth Council executive, Sania Heather. She'll take some part of the presentation as we go along. I'm also an honorary global youth ambassador for a youth organization, Youth Advocacy Network. So like I said, a lot of my youth work has been on promoting youth engagement and participation in policy and decision making, creating those platforms, those spaces where the government could connect with the youth. So I call myself an advocate for meaningful youth participation and engagement. And my commitment is really to create those spaces because I feel that that is really where the youth empowerment and meaningful engagement begins. So as we go along the presentation, we'll set the stage up for the basis of diving into this work while I was serving the Commonwealth Youth Council. And then we look into some of the initiatives and how it has impacted the youth uh, promotion into policy and decision-making processes. Next slide, please. Okay, so today's presentation, we look at the current scenario, as I said, on the youth political participation in the Commonwealth, particularly in the Asian region, because that is really where my focus was. I was representing the Asian region in the Commonwealth Youth Council, and we'll underscore the importance of youth engagement in policymaking at all government levels by realizing the impacts that and the benefits that we could have if we promote youth into policy and decision-making processes. As for the learning for today's audience, I'm not going to go into too much detail and depth, but I really want to intrigue and invoke your thought process on the idea of having the youth into the political and civic participation process. Um, One thing that I'd like to say here is that I really fear my audience falling asleep on me. So I want to make this presentation more engaging and interactive. So please don't hesitate to interrupt, question. Don't wait until we get to the end where we want to open the floor up for questions. If you want me to repeat anything, if you want clarification, just make it very informal. You can interrupt anytime. Um, so next slide, please. So today's agenda, like I said, we look into some research, some findings and implications. We'll go through some of the initiatives that I have undertaken or my team has undertaken as part of the Commonwealth Youth Council. And then we wrap it up as what are the next steps, what is the opportunity, and we open the floor for questions. The next slide, please. Okay, so most of my research that I've done, and that has been the basis of my work, is from the Global Youth Development Index report. It's also called the YDI report. It's set up by the Commonwealth Secretariat. It's a very comprehensive report that provides the details on multiple youth development indicators across the 6 domains. So it provides you the background, it provides you where we stand, what's the current scenario, what are the opportunities, and what's the way forward on promoting them. The 6 domains that it reports on is education, employment and opportunity, political and civic participation, equality and inclusion, peace and security, and health and well-being. Our focus for today's presentation is youth political and civic participation. So what is youth political and civic participation? Well, there are many definitions how we can uh, detail on this idea or this concept. But really how I take that over is that it's it's basically providing youth that stake and ownership into their future. So it's like the governments are creating policies on health, education, entrepreneurship, but really, who's the beneficiary of all these policies? It's mostly the youth, because they're the ones who will have more opportunities if it's a relevant or more meaningful entrepreneurship policy. It's them who will be benefiting from the education policy. It's them who will be like the biggest beneficiary really is the youth for a lot of these policies that the government is shaping up. So having that stake and ownership into these policies, the stake and ownership of youth, is really the youth political and civic participation. The other piece to it is the empowerment and meaningful engagement. So when we involve youth into these processes, what we're telling them is that, look, these are the areas where we want your focus, we want your attention, because this is really affecting your life. So that gives them that ownership, that gives them that empowerment, that makes them feel that they're really meaningfully engaged by their governments, and they have a say. And finally, the impacts of all of this process is that it socially integrates them into the society in a good balance. It's not that they're just volunteering and they don't have a say. It's not that they're just given a seat at the table and they don't have a say. It's that we're meaningfully engaging them to act in a balance. They're working as a volunteer when there's a need for relief work, where they're representing their countries for international conferences as part of the official delegations to input the youth perspective for different discussions that they're part of. So all of this and much more becomes the youth political and civic participation. Next slide, please. Um, so now I'll dive a little into the facts and figures. This is sort of a boring part. I'm a mathematician by profession. So a lot of my work starts from research. A lot of my work starts from numbers. So please bear with me. But I really hope that you all find this very interesting. And it is intriguing. So talking about political and civic participation, this exhibit is basically showing us all the factors that are part of, or the 6 domains of the YDI report as I explained them. And it's very obvious that where the political and civic participation stands. Every other domain has gone up in the era from 2018 to 2010 to 2018. However, political and civic participation has gone down. There is a decrease in where we stood before 2010 and where we stand in 2018. So it clearly shows that there's not enough focus, we're not doing well in this domain, and there's definitely opportunity. Now, this opportunity is not just because we've gone down and we don't look good in this domain compared to the other domains. It's also how it correlates to the SDGs, to the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. I didn't put the exhibit to show the correlation between the political and civic participation and the Sustainable Development Goals, but I could tell you that there's a strong correlation. And what that means in simple terms is that if you make a small step ahead or a progress into political and civic participation, we've gone a leap ahead into achieving the SDGs and going up in the indicators of the SDGs. So there is definitely a strong need and a strong opportunity in promoting political and civic participation. So just as an example, there are different areas that can be promoted. So youth representation as one, which will be the focus of our presentation. Youth as change makers, so inviting them for innovative ideas, entrepreneurship, promoting education, promoting advocacy, and so on and so forth. These are all the factors. If we work on them, we will promote the youth political and civic participation, and as a result, we positively impact the SDGs indicators. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, I was the Asian regional representative to the Commonwealth Youth Council. So a lot of my work was focusing on the Asian region as a whole, and specifically for the 8 Asian Commonwealth countries. So this exhibit is now focusing more onto the Asia Pacific for the youth political and civic participation. Here as well, we can clearly see that this domain is not doing well. We are standing pretty low in the ranking for political and civic participation. And what's interesting is that Asia has the highest youth population across the world. It has, I think it has more than 700 million young people, which means that it is the bulk, it's the youth dividend that if it is tapped into at the right time with the right resources, with the right skills, that can all change into a big input for the economy of a lot of developing states of the Asian region. Can you please click on the same slide? Yep. And now if I focus a little more into the sub-regions of the Asian region, then South Asia for sure is clearly not doing well compared to the other regions. So generally, as an overall, we're standing at 0.3 for the Asia Pacific region as an overall. But if we focus into South Asia itself, it's around 0.25 for political and civic participation, which is pretty low. And what's interesting is that this region is almost about 80% of the youth population from the total region. So countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they make up to the 80% of the youth population within the Commonwealth Asian region. So huge potential, huge opportunity.
Sorry.
Yes, please.
I want to had a question in mind. When you say political and civic participation, do you mean engagement in their country, within their country contexts, or do you mean engagement within global spaces?
So I mean both the things.
Okay.
So we want to engage them nationally for sure. But at the same time, just take this as an example that if you look at the challenges that are faced by the region itself, climate change, it's not just restricted to one country.
Right.
Education, unemployment.
Right.
So these are the challenges that are faced by the youth across the region.
Right.
So it has to be addressed by the youth
Right.
as one across the region.
Right.
And I was coming to the initiatives that we have taken, and they're at both the levels, at the national and the regional level, based on the same idea
Right.
that these challenges, they're cross-cutting. They're not just restricted to one
That's what I'm
country.
asking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So peace and security as an example as well, right? So my background is from that region as well. So I've seen like what are the challenges that hinders us connecting with our fellow youth from other countries, and we personally don't want that, right? So we need those initiatives, we need those spaces where we can get together without any political influence. I hope that answers the question.
So much.
So I'll move to the next slide. So this is one of the solutions, I could say, or one of the opportunities that we could tap into for promoting youth political and civic participation. So by developing the youth participation platforms, we provide spaces to the young people to connect with the policymakers, to connect with the decision makers. So at the national level, if we have, for example, a national youth body, which could take the form of a national youth council, national youth parliament, you could call it something else, that provides a space for youth representation by these young leaders that are part of that system to connect with the government, put forth their perspectives, put forth their concerns, put forth what's working well, what's not working well. And similarly, at the regional level as well, like I said, we have cross-cutting challenges. It's not climate change is just restricted to one country, it's across the region. So if we have challenges that we're dealing with in every country, then if we sit together, put more minds to it, we have better chances of combating those challenges and those risks if we work together as one resource. So the participation platforms is it provides a strong opportunity. It provides a space. It meaningfully engages. It empowers the youth in sharing their perspective and being active in the policy and decision-making processes. And there is more impacts that we'll go into as we come towards the end of the presentation. But this is really where we focused, and this is where we've taken some initiatives as well. Moving forward, we'll talk about those initiatives where I would invite, I have a question here. Please go ahead.
You mentioned the way forward or maybe solution. I just want to add, we need to even build more body on local level. For example, we need to make a connection between local governments and youth. we have bodies like national youth body and maybe regional youth bodies, but where we are lacking that the grassroots level youth, they have no connection with the even national bodies and even with the government. We need to have these kind of small local bodies, youth bodies, and we should make a connection between local government and then with them and then provincial government and then national government. Because those young people, they need to represent as well. So I think this is my
And that's an excellent point. And I have an exhibit that I wanted to display as well, and it'll speak to it too. You're absolutely right. When you talk about youth representation, it has to be at the grassroots level. And it kind of goes from bottom to the top. So it's like we have representation at the grassroots level. There are representatives there. Then we have representatives at the senior level, which is more like maybe the sub-national level. And then finally the national level, which kind of connects with the government. It's challenging to set it up at the grassroots level at the start. This is what I've experienced, especially as we go into some of these initiatives, we'll speak more onto it. But once we have a system or a mechanism in place, regardless of the level, ideally we want to place it at the grassroots level, but it's very challenging to do that at that level. Maybe we want to start at the top level and then give that responsibility to the youth themselves to start or to connect with the bulk of the youth that is at the local level. And we've seen that with one of the initiatives that we undertook by establishing the first National Youth Council of Pakistan. It started at a very high level. In fact, the first cohort was based off more like the celebrities. It didn't have like the real youth participation because it was more of a publicity stunt, I could say. But then eventually, as it went on, and it took like a couple of years or maybe 3 years, and the cohort kept changing, now it has developed a proper constitution. It has a local body system, and it is all developed by the youth themselves. Can you click on slide, please? So this exhibit basically is displaying some of that overlap that exists between the responsibility of the state, which is to allow young people to connect with them through an initiative. So that's it. That is their intent. And then the overlap with the CSOs or with these youth spaces is that then they have this responsibility to take that further by establishing them further, by capacity building, by strengthening it. So it kind of works hand in hand. So in my personal experience, it's been like the government shows an intent, they set up something, and then the youth takes it over, right? And it follows the pursuit of establishing it at the sub-regional level, national level, local level, and goes on and on, right? So I will just kind of recap on what I said before we go into the initiative. So the objective of having these youth participation platforms is really to have a space where the young people can connect with the government, put forth their perspective on the policies, on the decisions that are made for them, while they're not even part of it, right? So education is one thing, health, climate change, all of these things. These are the things that will definitely affect the youth, especially when the youth in the world right now is the bulk of the population. So next we have the two initiatives that we undertook, and Sania will speak more on them. One was the regional level, which we called the Asian Youth Union. So it's basically combining the youth of the region under one initiative with the idea that they have challenges that they're facing commonly across the region. So it will be very beneficial that if we sit together and work on those challenges together to find solutions and implement them in our own countries. And the other was establishing a youth council in one of the countries where it was missing while we were part of the Youth Council of the Commonwealth. So Sania, I would invite you to take it over from here onwards, and then I'll come back once we get to the impacts. Next, can you please? I think you can set the stage up for this, and then we can play the video before we move on to the next one. That's good.
Good morning, all. So, thank you, Qasim. So, as one of part of the Commonwealth Youth Council work that we did for the Asia, we tried to set up this Asian Youth Union. The inception idea was launched in the Senior Youth Officials meeting in Brunei in 2019, where we received government mandate for establishing a voice for the Asian region. So just to give a background, as part of the Commonwealth Youth Council, we have 5 regions that we have, for example, Caribbean, Africa region, Europe, and then Asia and Pacific. What we see within our Commonwealth Youth Council, or even regionally across the Commonwealth, is that the Asia region is the least integrated. We have excellent example from the like the Caribbean region, where they have a really good system of youth, regional youth council or participation. But what we do is we lack in the Asia region. So what we did was, after the Brunei, we had a lot of engagements with the governments, and we officially launched the Asian Youth Union at the ECOSOC Youth Forum in New York 2021 to provide an Asian youth collaboration mechanism for Asian youth to collaborate. We did receive a couple of offers from different countries, for example, Turkey, to have a setup there or our headquarters, and these are still like works ongoing. We are discussing that. So what we did was, we have video that we want to play to go into more detail for the background of the Asian Youth Union.
Asia is the home to largest youth population in the world. But their voices are hardly heard. Frustrations, ignored, sidelined. These are some words most Asian youths can relate to.
I think the youths have so much to bring and share to the world.
But how can they do it?
A group of young minds came together and they thought, why not we give a platform uniting 750 million voices across Asia? And that's how Asian Youth Union formed.
Asian Youth Union is the first youth-led initiative to represent and coordinate youth-related issues. From education, entrepreneurship to climate change, we are given the opportunity for youths to speak for youths.
People say youth are the future. We beg to differ.
We are here. We are the present.
So, youths, join us and let's come together as one united force at Asian Youth Union.
I think one important thing to consider for the Asian region is that we are so diverse. We have China, India on one side, completely different perspectives of young engagement, and then we have smallest of the countries. So it's really diverse. I think that's one of the main challenges that we are facing now. We have Middle East as well, which is a completely different setup. So, and with a bulk of population, and then we have the Southeast Asian region. So, and we have other bodies like ASEAN that are also operating, and they have a very strong youth, regional youth bodies. So navigating all those is a challenge, but we are hopeful that the governments will cooperate in terms of supporting the Asian Youth Union forward. So another, I think, big achievement that we had as part of the Commonwealth Youth Council Asia work was the establishment of the National Youth Council of Pakistan. So in the regional Asia region, the biggest countries, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, still do not have the national representative of young people. But fortunately, in 2019, the government of Pakistan, under the office of the Prime Minister, actually, they launched this National Youth Council. The CYC has been really supportive of it. Like, we were We had been meeting with the government, with the Office of the Special Assistant to Prime Minister on Youth Affairs, and supported them with establishing the constitution and other arrangements on how to set up the National Youth Council. As Qasim said, when they first launched the National Youth Council, the members of the National Youth Councils were mostly celebrities, etc., just for launching it. And I think it was more for young people to have some role models. But since then, there has been a lot of significant progress, and now most of the members of the young youth National Youth Council are from the very grassroots organizations, young people who are youth workers in their own spheres and regions. So another important benefit of the National Youth Council is that before, whenever we had the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting and Commonwealth Youth Forum, Pakistan did not had official representatives, whom we call as national youth delegates. And now we have every 2 years when we have CHOGM and Commonwealth Youth Forum, we have those two national youth delegates selected from the National Youth Council in Pakistan. And that provides a space for young people of that country, for example, to have official representation and official voice. Another important thing is when we talk about youth participation and empowerment, what we can see is the National Youth Council is another good example. Now that we have an official youth council, there are examples that now UNDP, development partners, British Council, or other development partners, they have a space or they know that, okay, if we want to have some youth engagement or youth empowerment or capacity building programs, they directly have a space to go and engage with the National Youth Council, and they are providing a lot of training opportunities. So it's not just engaging young people in political participation, but also building their capacity. And we are really hopeful that India and Bangladesh would follow soon with their own national youth councils, because that's really important for the region.
To keep in click. Sorry, we're really done here. Sorry, a few more minutes. We'll run down quickly with the impacts and outcomes and the next steps, because that's important. So we have to keep on clicking and it keeps on coming up. So we can just go one by one. No, that's okay. That's okay. It's funny. I know, like I just put it up pretty bad. So I'll just go with the first one. So representation, like what are the impacts and outcomes of having these youth spaces? So they have a place to represent. Of course, we can see that if there is a space where they can connect with the government, they can connect with the youth bulk. The youth has this confidence in the country and the region that, okay, their say is being listened to. They have a seat at the table. They have a say in the policy and decision making. Provides a lot of confidence, a lot of strength to the youth. And of course, that leads to the policy making, decision making being more youth inclusive, which is the goal of sustainable future. Then we have empowerment and capacity building through these youth spaces. There's social innovation. We're promoting social innovation because there are ideas that are generated by the youth. And because they have a space where they can connect with the government, they can be officially taken over by the government for implementation nationally. And there are examples, I cannot go into those details, but from the Youth Council of Pakistan, there are a few good examples where they came up with some ideas on innovation that has helped promote the local economy of the youth mass that is, sitting in the rural communities that do not have access to the modern education or modern technology, but there is innovation that can lead to some of that development. Then we have succession planning. Of course, we want leaders from the youth to take over as politicians, as the policymakers, and that transition has to happen at a quicker pace. So this space, this idea, this process exposes them to that level of leadership, connecting with the government, representing their country at the international forums, give them that experience and confidence, which allows them to be more of an effective leader, especially as they go along their age and get into the official election processes.
I think another one important outcome is stronger democracies. So, for example, giving the example of Pakistan, currently student unions have been banned since the last 3 or 4 decades in Pakistan. And it's an ongoing conversation that we need the student unions to have official representative bodies in the different universities or educational institutions to have build stronger democracies. Next, so another one is social cohesion and stability. We know, for example, in Sri Lanka last year, there was a severe economic crisis, and the Sri Lankan Youth Council members, they were really vocal about it. They had a space actually that they could launch official statements that the young people in Sri Lanka are really worried about the economic crisis and what the government is doing. So having those youth council or youth platforms is really important for the young people to share their perspective. Next. And finally, I think peace building and conflict resolution. Again, we have examples from across the world that how important it is for young people to have a channel, a proper platform to voice their concerns. If it's not available, then it can lead to really destructive outcomes because young people if they are led astray, like we have examples of how it can cause instability within the country and societies.
So it all links to the sub-theme of the conference, collectivism and solidarity across geographies. So if you give them, the youth, these spaces, these processes, then there is an opportunity for them to just not stick into their own country, but go across the geographies, be more inclusive, be more collective. Next slide, we just want to quickly wrap up on the conclusion, next steps, and the tools that we have that could help us promote youth political and civic participation. So we can just quickly put everything on the slide. So yeah, that's good. So the first one, the top three are basically the next steps. So we want to invest to optimize the youth dividend. As I've said, there's a huge youth bulk in the world. It's not just one region, it's across the world. It's more than 50% of the population. If we tap into it, we have a huge chance of promoting a lot of other indicators, economics, education, health, so many things, right? Eventually, it all leads to stronger democracies. We want to work on building a more frequent evidence base on realizing the impact of these youth initiatives that we are having. So the YDI report that I was referring to is from 2018, and it just came out in 2021. So there's already 5 years of a gap, and we don't really know like how these impacts of Asian Youth Union or the National Youth Council has resulted in promoting the youth political and civic participation in the Asian region. So we want to be more frequent in seeing those impacts, which kind of motivates this whole process. And of course, as across the stakeholders that are part of this process, we want to promote youth into this process by engaging them more meaningfully, speaking out on these initiatives, presenting on them. So there has to be some momentum from that forth as well. And finally, to achieve some of these ideas, there are some actions that are provided by the Commonwealth Secretariat themselves, part of this YDI report, and offline, like otherwise as well, for all the stakeholders, for the youth, if they want to be more active in these spaces, for the CSOs, and for the governments, of course, through skills training, technical education. So those are some resources that we can all tap into. So with this, I'll take a pause. I'll open the floor for questions. We still have 10 minutes to go. You said 11:45. Oh, we just have 5 minutes to go? Okay.
5 minutes.
So we just have 5 minutes to go. I'm really sorry you wanted to get short. So we have some participants online as well. So it's an open floor for all the audience.
Yes, we'll be able to.
So if anyone
questions.
from the online, yes, so they can ask questions from on Slido, right?
Give the instructions. Those joining us online, if you go to slido.com and input the code 8592492, that's 8592492, and select room 103, you'll be able to type in your questions and we can field them here. Room 103 has a little green icon, and we'll be able to hear from you. Please do send in your questions.
Thank you, moderator. Any questions from the room?
Anything from the room?
Please.
We'll do a quick round now. We'll allow the other presentation to go. We can always come back and look at commonalities across.
Thank you very much. It was a very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Like in the Pakistani context, which you have presented, I just want to know if the National Youth Council has some connect with the higher education institutions, especially the public universities, because with my experience, I see that mostly students from the very elite universities, the private universities like LAMS and NUS, they are in these councils, but the students from the public universities, they don't even know about these councils. So do you have a connect with them?
So I think, like I said, like initially when it started, it did not. But as it is going forward, like this is the third cohort that is in the office right now. I do know like there are members from like from the local community that are not part of the like the higher education that is like from the private university. So I get the point. It is getting its word out to the masses that do not have like access to like these opportunities that the upper part of the society has. And as we go along, I think there will be more of such progress. What I know is that the current cohort, I'm sorry, I'm going to speak up. The current cohort is very mindful of having this spread into the local community, and it will have its impact. We're less in time, so I just want to cover as much as we can.
Because they won't be able to hear you.
Especially for the online audience, we may not be possible.
Apologies for that disruption. Thank you, colleagues. Appreciate that.
I can take one more question. And then,
I think you might want to repeat.
oh, okay. So what I'm saying is that the current cohort is very mindful that they want to spread this down to the local community, to the local youth. So they do have some initiatives. And it's all online. So the good thing is that you can connect with the youth council members. If there is an idea that you have and you want to spread that or share that over with them, you can reach out, and they're very active in taking up those initiatives.
And just to add to that, like the Prime Minister's office, which had like the National Youth Council is working directly under that, they're very aware. So when they're receiving applications from across the country, they want to have a diverse cohort as much as possible. So they want people to have more from rural backgrounds as well as urban backgrounds as per the proportion. And they want not just some like in terms of diversity as well. They don't want just at the mainstream. They would want to have ethnic and religious minorities.
We understand about the policy, but the real problem and gap is where the implementation of these initiatives is. That you have to improve the connect with the higher education institutes from where the youth is coming to enroll with these programs, because these programs are not much popular among the youth here. They don't have the information.
Agreed. We can take one more question quickly, if there is.
I mean, it's not a question, but I will just add that things that the Commonwealth Youth Council, everyone I've ever done, working vice chair of the Commonwealth Youth Council. One of the things that we're doing from the Commonwealth Youth Council, we're working with the Commonwealth Youth Academy, which is an online digital training platform that we're utilizing to strengthen the development of young people across the Commonwealth. It's in the initial stage, but we have been able to create a lot of impact so far with the platform. Young persons from marginalized or rural communities are able to access our platform via the application that is also being developed. So you can take our courses or short training programs, which is also a means through which we can also help to reach more young persons on the ground. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. If you're in a community and you may want to also be able to access this for the youth that you train or you're engaging with, it also, a component of the platform as well, is that they can access opportunities. They can learn about conferences like these, or they can learn about youth conferences that they can apply to and be a part of. So an avenue through which they can be aware of what is happening on a global scale, and they can get to apply or be a part of those different things.
Before we, sorry, I wanted to just take a question from online. Okay, okay.
Where do you access that platform?
It's called www.Commonwealth Youth Academy.
Thank you.
.org.
That's those online, www.commonwealthyouthacademy.org. Okay. A question from online. This is Steve Davies. Welcome, Steve. He asks, what are the reasons given by politicians for student unions being banned in Pakistan?
So it was really mostly because of the student unions were really becoming active in politics, and that's why it got banned. And it was back in the era of 1980s when we had martial law. So we had the army taking over the country, and the armies usually they want to ban voices. They want to so what has been banned, it's really a hard way, like a long path to unban something and make it something that is progressive. So it is a big challenge for the country, because currently now the student unions that are mostly unofficial student unions, they are mostly along the ethnic lines, which we do not really encourage, because if you are in your ethnicity, like it creates some sorts of rivalry, which that's how it's panning out. So we really want to have, I think it's the progressive youth workers in the country, they are really pushing to have the student unions unbanned.
And I would just wrap it up. Like in general, I feel it's like based on my experience, I feel it's more like a trust deficit that there is between the governments and the young people. And they just like the governments just kind of fear that, you know, if they give spaces or voices to the young people, they may just go completely against them and it may not be very effective. But I've seen that happening the other way around, where, for example, the government of Pakistan took this initiative half-heartedly, and now they have really promoted it themselves, especially the fact that it was initiated by another government and another government took over last year. But this initiative is still carried on by the new government because they could see the value in it. So these are good examples to see that, okay, sure, you may be a little afraid that, you know, it may not work well, but just giving it a try, you could see like there are much more good impacts than the bad impacts. And it actually leads to the development of the society, of the nation as a whole. So it is definitely helpful.
Thank you.
There's more we can.
One last
question.
That we don't.
And
I don't want
I'm here for at the conference until I'm here for the full conference with Tanya, so we can always take questions offline afterwards.
We'll have a chance to come back.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Not a question, but just a comment, and also in relation to the challenges that you mentioned and the connection on the ground with such youth councils. It's really a nice presentation. Thank you, Kasi. And of course, I commend the effort of the Pakistan government. They did supported the Commonwealth Youth Council. By the way, I'm Kim Alan, and to mention to my colleague, I'm the chairperson for the Commonwealth Youth Council. Of course, with the reach on the ground, and I think that's why it's stakeholders. We have national youth delegates of each country across the Commonwealth, which is a volunteer role. And I think this gives us an opportunity as youth workers to connect. If you have presence on the ground, we have the opportunity to connect with our national benefits out there. We can support the building capacity, and also how we can, with the opportunity given by the Secretariat, we do have access to raising concerns, and we have access to youth ministerial and heads of state dialogues that we can flag this to bring opportunity and of course value in the work that we do as youth workers on the ground. So this is an opportunity for us that we can know about you, and also we can support us and we can work together on the ground. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sanya. It's really great to have those two case studies of how you've been promoting young people's participation, representation, and engagement with this. And we'll be able to come back and hear more about it at the end. Now we get to hear about youth leaders as youth workers from Olalekun and his colleague. I hope she's online or coming online soon, Bukola, to share, but Ola, please, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a beautiful afternoon here. Morning, we're still in morning. It's good. So good morning, everyone. Do you have a presentation?
I'm just looking in. I'm so sorry about all of this.
So yeah, my name is Olalekun Oshunkoya. I'm Executive Director of Citizens Commons International. We work in Nigeria with young people and actively promoting civic engagement, technology, and collaboration with the young people, and then encouraging the participation of youth. So I'm pretty much interested to hear the last presentation about youth participation and then involvement in Pakistan and how they enter Asian region, because that's something that we're interested in. And it makes me feel good because it feels like for us, we think that we're underrepresented. I can't imagine having my student union being banned for how many decades and not having a voice to participate. That would be huge. So I think I feel refreshed. I can take it slow on my government a little bit and say, okay, you're trying, but at the end of the day, it's just my background. It's in youth development. I have been involved in it with the Commonwealth for some time as a youth leader, but now as a technically youth worker. And I think it's really been interesting because I see the value. Earlier today when they're doing the plenary and they're talking about the value of youth work and all of that, I felt like all my life in the last 10 years, I've seen that. And I was meeting someone yesterday that we got talking, and I was talking about how I met someone about 12 years ago at my very first Commonwealth Youth Leaders Conference that I attended. That was my first opportunity to leave my country. And then it was Lane Robinson that was actually like a facilitator at that event. And then I ended up getting involved with the Commonwealth over those years. And I think that largely speaking, it's provided an opportunity to sort of like see how my life has been, my career and my life has been shaped by a single opportunity to participate as a youth leader in an event. And then what I did after that, just kind of like take a different way, and I'm still doing that. So just to speak about the organization, I actually went back, I stayed in the diaspora for some time, got my degrees, and I went back home to start the organization. It's called Citizens Commons Advocacy International. It used to be Student Leadership and Enterprise Development International. Then after a while, we wanted to expand our scope of our work. So we removed the limitation of student leadership, and then we reversed that into Citizens Commons. And so we're basically about encouraging young people to be involved in different ways and empowering them. So one of the biggest projects, the things that we do, we have like a innovation hub in Abuja where we encourage young people to be part of to come. We have a co-working space, we have a media lab, we have an event space, we have where we support any young person who wants to be part of their youth development in a way as youth leaders or as social entrepreneurs or social impact leaders or change maker, where we can incubate their ideas and support them to think about a lifelong career from that initial passion or from that initial change that they make. So that's what the organization works. And we have a couple of projects. I'm just waiting for the presentation to be loaded up. But entirely speaking, is the idea that like a convergence of leadership, entrepreneurship, and active citizenship, and that's where and technology. That's where our work is like that convergence there. But essentially, we try as much as possible to sort of like so our work is slightly dependent on encouraging young people to make sure that their voice counts and to make sure that they are involved at the very opportunity that in decision making, not just by having a seat at the table, but ensuring that the seat that they get has quality representation. And where I come from, I'm Nigerian, so I think that we historically have situations where young people will have a seat at the table, but they take the weakest of the weakest young people. So it's not quality participation, it's not quality representation. So that way we are able to, so that's one thing that we've been doing at the organization. So yeah, youth leaders as youth workers. So basically the idea was that last year we had a project that was designed primarily to amplify the youth voice. We were preparing for a general election in the country, and then we said, what's important to young people? How we, in the midst of post-COVID-19, different things has happened, we wanted to engage young people across the country. So we had this project called Youth Conversations for New Nigeria, which is basically going around the country to ask young people, what's important to you? What would you like to see in the manifesto of the different political parties that is running for election, and the different leaders that are putting themselves up for election? What are the issues and that are important, and how will you have opportunity to have this consultation? So we had this consultation across different cities across the country and across different campuses. And then as part of that process, we don't have a lot of time and a lot of resources. We had just very little funding to do this project, but we wanted to make it as meaningful as possible. So we tried to say, we're not going to hire people, but instead we're going to look for youth leaders who are already in that space, who are already engaging at different levels, and we're going to engage them to do that consultations for us. And then eventually we discovered that it was so easy and so useful to have adopted that approach. And then, so what we're trying to look at with this project was just to say that how do we get youth leaders in the place of performing their roles as youth leaders, whether as the change makers or as opinion leaders, they end up to acquire a lot of skill sets that makes them effectively working as youth workers. With that, actually, I mean, I just talked about my own life as an example, and I have a lot of other hundreds of people that I know individually who basically just started by being youth leaders, but they end up pursuing a career as youth workers, whether intentionally or accidentally. So we're saying that can we begin to think about youth leaders as potential professional youth workers, because this is what even some of them are actually doing, especially when they do it for a period of time. So the rationale again for the project was about, I don't know if anybody was here knowing about the hashtag #EndSARS.
Yeah.
In 2020, this was big in Nigeria. So prior to this time, we have this, I mean, we're pretty much a very functional democracy, so we have a lot of opportunities for youth to participate, but it's not really deep. It's not, you have just a handful of people who are chosen by politicians to represent, quote unquote, the youth voice. But then the real young people, high unemployment rates, very limited involvement. So they are just, the problems are there, but the participation is not reflecting, the policy is not reflecting the problem. So 2020, there was a big protest across the country. It's called EndSARS, where there's a voice around police brutality and all of that. But this was purely a young people-led movement that across the country, we are in multiple cities, there was a lot of stuff. And at the end of the protest, we had a conversation to say that we had an opportunity because the protest happened. A lot of young people who have never even voted, who had no interest in being interested in what is happening, participated in this protest organically, but we were unable to take the benefit of that action, the attention that we had with the government around that to the next level because we were not prepared. There is no capacity for most of these people that led this protest in different cities, they have never really been trained by any. So we decided to say, how do we engage beyond what are the lessons we learned for what we could have done with the protest better that we couldn't do because we were not prepared for it. So that way, we started a project called From Protest to Action. So we don't have to wait until some accidental opportunity to go and do protest, but can we become more systematic? So that was why we did that. So the project, basically, like I was saying, was titled Youth Conversations for New Nigeria. And then we went to 24 cities, and then we had one conversation. We know that the current state of the country as it is not working. A lot of young people are dissatisfied with government, they are dissatisfied with their political leaders, but what can you do? Can we personalize it in your local government, in your local city, in your community? Can you do something different? What would that thing be? So we went about, that's when we recruited these youth leaders to have that conversation, to just say that we want to create awareness about these problems, but more importantly, we want to ask for what young people in different communities at local level thinks about the solution. And then we want to compile all these different reports across the country and create a document that we published in December of 2022. It's called A Nigeria for the Many, Not the Youth, our manifesto for the new Nigeria, for the Nigeria we desire. So here's this document, and then we produce that as a tool to say, this is what we have had across all the constitutions, across the different part of the country. And this is what young people are saying. And for the very first time, this is like an evidence-based report that is very widely consulted, and the young people across the different divide were able to say that this is what we are hearing and this is what we are saying. So that's what the project was. And then I don't know if Bukola is already here, so she's going to take the next slide and then up to the one. So if Bukola, if you're here, Buki, you can, and she can just take the next one, and then.
So for our methodology, to exploit the combination of youth leaders to the positive youth development, we actually took evidence from the consultation of individual report that was submitted by our conversation moderator during the youth conversation for a new Nigeria. We also looked at the answer to the engagement reflection question that we had with our moderators, and also the training feedback and survey we got from them during the engagement. All of these were collected to understand the kind of skills, competency, and also the experience that this youth leader has as part of the engagement. Next slide. Okay, great. Thank you. So the next slide what we'll be looking at is who is a youth leader or youth leadership in general, just to understand the context and to be able to classify these youth leaders as youth workers. So the simplest definition here that I will be using, that our research is actually based on, is that youth leaders are young people that we see as agents of change in their community. And youth leadership is, that will be the next slide. And we will see youth leadership as a kind of theory of youth development in which young people will gain skills and knowledge that is necessary for three important things, which would be to lead their civic engagement, for education reform, and also community organizing activity. These are the things that youth leadership is actually based on, and this were what our research actually looked towards. And then while we'll be looking at who is a youth worker, the definition of a youth worker also, that will be the next slide. Okay, thank you. For who is a youth worker, we will be looking at, we'll be taking the definition from the CYP, which says that youth workers are people that will see that undertake a range of service delivery function, as well as auxiliary work for policy research and management, because we see these youth workers as agents of change. They exist in professional setting, in NGO setting, for government, for non-governmental organization, for government, for schools, and they work with young people to actually develop their skills and authority rather than exercising their own authority over them. So these are the two things we are looking at. We're looking at who is a youth worker, we're looking at who is a youth leader, and also to see the correlation and the skills between the youth worker, and to see the skills and correlation on how our youth leaders actually can function or are functioning as also youth workers. So our process, for the process, that will be the next slide. Okay, for the process of the youth conversation for a new Nigeria, we engage 60 youth leaders in Nigeria to act as our conversation moderator and develop and to deliver the national consultation. Also, we engage over 35 cities, campuses, and communities in Nigeria, and also youth organization. These conversation moderators were supported as individual event organizers, and they were able to mobilize their peers and engage with other stakeholders in their community. The recruitment process, next slide, please. Okay, this is just a brief explanation of the conversation moderators. Our conversation moderators are experienced youth leaders. These are youth leaders we've looked at, because the process of recruitment for the conversation moderator was actually a very, very competitive one. And also we got recommendation from the National Youth Council, from student union leaders, from the Nigeria Youth Parliament, and also campus leaders and more. These were recommendations we looked at. And during the application, we looked at the skills that they have. We noticed, especially one of the key skills we looked at when we were recruiting our conversation moderator was that they should have at least minimum of 4 years of experience as a youth leader. So that, because minimum of 4 years experience means that to an extent they can organize events, to an extent they can carry out some program administration for the young conversation. We supported them. Yeah, thank you so much for this slide. We supported them with just little online training, just to tell them how the conversation will be tailored, why this youth leader brought in their skills to actually organize this event. Some of them even partner with local organizations and also their government agencies to be able to carry this youth conversation, and we're able to gather the opinion of their fellow leaders. Yes, youth leaders serve as conversation moderators, and we require at least 4 years of experience with proven track in their community organizing, civic engagement, fundraising, team building. These are skills that we assume that we know that youth leaders should have, and these are the skills we're looking for when we were recruiting for the community, for the conversation moderator, I mean. Next slide.
I think I take it up from there. Thank you very much, Bukola. So the whole idea around this is just to say that we have youth leaders who have, over the past of like at least 4 years, done some work in their leadership development, in doing their leadership work, has been able to acquire skills and competencies that is readily usable for us. So we don't have to train anyone else. We just had a 3 hours virtual training to just talk about the process of what they need to do, and not just to be training them. We didn't have to train them about the skill set that they need to have. They already have those. It's just a question of using them to say, this is what we need you to do when you go to the field, and this is how you're going to. It was so interesting to see that because we adopted that model, we were able to get a lot done with little. We're able to go to a lot more communities. We did a call for applications. We had over 600 applications that we only needed a few, because a good number of the applications were actually very, very qualified. We didn't even have to it was difficult to decide who to use or who not to. But the point is, our findings is actually reflected on the idea that a youth leader, an experienced youth leader, will usually have self-awareness skills. They will have communication skills. They will have the learning mindset that they need to have. They should be available to want to learn and to want to engage. And then, of course, they are leaders already. So they know the power of teamwork. They want to work with other people. They want to make sure that they get the best and they can delegate as well. And then they have all these skills around time management, because we're using these leaders to work in different communities where we are with very limited supervision. And we wanted to trust their judgment to be able to deliver this consultation in their local community and send us back a report that we can use as authority and a representation of what has happened where we're not physically present to do this. So it was important for us to know that they can do that around even the conflict management skills, and then, of course, being able to give us feedback around what has happened. And then, of course, there's a lot of skill set around emotional intelligence. How much knowledge do they have around their own awareness of self and all of those things? So, and then, of course, we needed to be able to know that, are they able to influence with their authority? Because when you facilitate a community session and then you want to hear people speak, are you imposing your own thought or what you think government should be doing on them, or you are listening and hearing what they are saying, your peers are saying when you host this consultation? So and when we did that, we realized that, wait a minute, these are basically short list of what you would expect from someone who wants to, if you want to hire someone as a professional youth worker to do this work in a sense on a day-to-day management. And then you would, as program managers, or as you realize that already these are some of the things. So we began to think about it and said, youth leaders can be very vital resources to be used as youth workers in some context around this type of program management, event planning, consultation, research, advocacy, and this kind of work. So because they already have capabilities to do that, because they are doing this work on a daily basis anyways, as a form of their involvement in youth as youth leaders. So, and then we also realized that we had asked them after the engagement to just basically ask them a few questions and say that, okay, how was the process? What have you learned? And we realized that about 92%, okay, yeah, I mean, how does I know that, like, so about 92% of us confirmed to us that their participation in the young conversation sort of like improved their, because one of the key cells that we are telling them when we're recruiting them is that when you do this for us, consider this as a line item in your resume, because this is real work. This is serious project work that you can leverage in the future for any other engagement that you might want to do. And then so about 92% confirm that their ability to do that consultations, to host these community sessions, help them they consider the skill sets that can be useful from a professional point of view. And about 81% of them also confirmed to us that the training that we provide them we provided them as conversation moderator added to the capacity to deliver the conversation, but not necessarily in terms of the skills, because they already had the skill set anyways. And 62% of them confirmed also that they are actually actively pursuing an interest in youth work, or they are considering it. So they are already beginning to think about life options, and they're thinking, I'm doing all of these things now, and then it's already like looking like I might want to do this professionally moving forward, and then all of that. So we have 62% of them saying that. And then of course about 79% of them telling us that they are able to organize a consultation with minimal supervision, simply because they've had engagement in the past. Some of them have done community meetings before, they've done events, international youth days, they've done a lot of events, they have all these skills. So it wasn't really much of a hard work. They're very confident from the one that at the time that they were making applications or accepting to the role, that this is piece of cake, I can get it done because I've done something similar before. So they're not like afraid or thinking, oh, we need additional support. We were thinking we had a 2-member team that was going to give support to the youth leaders, but we never really even used them because we had very limited demand on their time or resources to support them remotely. So that didn't even have to happen because we had them. And then we had 87% of our moderators saying that they have these competencies prior to coming on board, and then that helped them in their readiness to hit the ground running from the minute that they were engaged. And then of course, so what we observe is that because of the nature of youth leadership in that context, we can take away like the ability for young people who are leading actively over a period of time can be a very useful ways to begin to think of them as youth workers in the context of doing advocacy and research, and then trying to work with either to support as program managers or as a research actively supporting research. And also, of course, some of them had to they were making flyers on their own, they were using Canva, they were doing all of these things that we didn't even have the support or budget to do, but they just understood that in doing this is how much that needs to be done, and they were able to do across different roles to achieve that. And then, more importantly, I think that we just came to the conclusion that if you have youth leaders, you can be thinking about you can match the skill set that a youth leader has in the function of, in the process of developing themselves as leaders. And then it can also be the same skill set that you will need in some way as a youth worker. And then, so we just make that conclusion and begin to think about, generally in Nigeria, the idea of youth work is new. The classification of professional youth work without training, whether formally or informally, is not there. So then we're beginning to say, can we begin to look at youth leaders as youth workers in a way that we don't have the human resources to do this, because this has not really been developed locally in that sense of it. And people do youth work in different ways, but they just haven't really been explored professionally. So the argument we're making with the paper is to just say that when youth leaders have experience in some of the competencies and the skills that they've developed, can we acknowledge in a way that experiences and then use them and encourage them to say, you know what, if you've been a youth leader, if you have served in different roles, if you demonstrate evidence of leadership and the skill set that you have acquired in the process of that, maybe you are better suited to be a youth worker in some areas of youth work. And then we can readily just take it up from there and say, we understand that there is no way you can be a successful youth leader without using some of these skills. And by default, we can begin to assume some recognition of that skill that they have had, and then use them to resource the need of the youth work in the country, because there is an enormous need in the country, and then we don't have, but we're thinking until you actually go and get a bachelor's, or you have to get, I mean, we're still very dependent on all of those degrees. But someone that spent 4 years across a different stages of youth leadership, like from working as a regional youth rep to all the way from coming to the National Youth Council, 5 years, 4 years of doing a lot of work in that. And that's like a ready-made resource that you can just pick up this person. And then one of the things that we do in our organization is to basically look at how people who, I mean, generally you build up yourself as a young person because you're passionate about change. You want to see something different in your local government. When you look at this and you end up becoming leaders or becoming activists for that reason or becoming a change maker for that reason. But then what we say is that, how do you begin to think about this from a long-term point of view, that thing you're hungry about, that passion that you have can be a career, can be something that you can do full-time. So what we do with in our innovation hub, the social hub, is to say that when you come into the hub with an idea of, I'm hungry about education, I just think the education system should work better. I want the health system to work better. And we're saying that, can you just conceptualize an idea, start up an organization, and spend the rest of your 30 years doing nothing but this? And then you can live when you are 60, 70, you can look back and see how much has changed simply because one day you were treated badly by a doctor or by a teacher, and then you started it. So it's not just about, I'll do this for 5 years, I'll move on to be a doctor, or I'll move on to be a lawyer. I mean, I'm a lawyer, I had a law degree, but I've never have to go into a courtroom to argue a case in the last 10 years. All I've done is just to work in advocacy and social impact. And I don't feel any less important as an individual than my colleagues that are working in the courtroom. And I actually even feel more passionate that I put myself up with the shoulder up when I came into the diaspora, got educated, and went back. I'm like, there is no point. I want to go back into the local place and do this work because that's what I've identified 10 years before this journey, and that's what I want to do. I have to explain every single time to people that this is why I'm doing this. Like, people leave to go, who goes abroad, spend this much here, and come back and deal with this. So that's what we do. So our basis is to just say that youth leaders can be encouraged, can be empowered, can be, we can begin to have some recognition of the skill set that youth leaders have, and then use them as youth workers. And then hopefully we can have more expertise, we can have more additional resources that we can use within the youth work ecosystem to advance the work and to increase the impact of the youth work. Thank you very much. And then, of course, we do have the report. I've got the actual report of the conversation is online. You can go to our website if you're interested in reading about that particular work. You can download a copy on our website, citizenscommons.org/FPA, and then you can. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I would like to.
I think this presents such an interesting asset-based approach, right, to growing the youth work profession. What do we start with? And these experienced youth leaders have many of the skill sets required to become professional youth workers, and you can help to support a pathway towards career development for them with passion. And so that's excellent. Really interesting case study of what you've done there in Nigeria. Colleagues in the room, I'm going to open up for questions. Just to remind anybody just joining us online, slido.com is the platform you're going to use to ask your questions. Input code 859-2492. 859-2492, and you're in room 103. Looking forward to having your questions. Let me open up here.
Thank you very much. I think both presentations were excellent, and I'm very happy to see young people talking about youth workers as well. I just want to add, we need to see another lens as well. When we talk about youth development, we talk about youth, we talk about youth workers, we talk about how youth can lead, how youth are doing, youth development agencies are doing. But I think we are missing out the government side, because Commonwealth countries, governments need to invest on youth. And unfortunately, they are not investing much on youth. For example, youth is mere slogan when it comes to governments and political parties. We can see the budget. When our governments present budget, they don't keep anything for youth. For example, if I give example of my country, we hardly see like budget in millions. We are more than 225 million people, and we are passing through youth purge. We have 60% under the age of 30, but we don't have budget for them. So I think the seriousness of youth development, we can see through these things. We need to push Commonwealth governments to invest on youth. And then when we have these high level meetings among the youth Commonwealth countries, we need to put youth on agenda. We never talk about youth when we sit together, when our ministers sit together, when our prime ministers sit together. We have a lot of regional issues. Obviously, they are important. But if we really consider youth is important, we need to tell them that we need to talk about youth and youth development, and we need to invest them. Unfortunately, in South Asia, at least I know, I have seen their budgets and their priorities. Youth is not their priority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other
Can I
questions?
respond to it? So I think what you say is what I agree with as well. But I take the responsibility of achieving that as a young person. And I feel we have to take some charge in it as well. So as an example, if we took this initiative of establishing a youth council or a regional youth body, what that has done is that it has given some sort of a sense to the governments that involving young people in the processes as leaders, as innovators, as change makers is not hurting. In fact, it's benefiting, right? And this they haven't seen yet. So I feel like taking some of these initiatives, coming onto the scene, and inputting positively is setting the precedent. And I see the suit being followed by other countries. As an example, when we did this initiative with the Youth Council of Pakistan, which took a stance and they set up this process, the government of Bangladesh showed interest by themselves. And I didn't quote it because it still is not done, but it's at the brink of, but it's like literally the last step. And COVID happened, so they couldn't launch it, but it's just at the final step of a launch because they could see how Pakistan has benefited by establishing a youth council. Similarly, when we established this initiative of the regional youth body, we had 3 member states of the Asian region that showed interest in setting up a secretariat or an office because they could see how this has contributed to the other regions. And this is what youth led, right? So I agree with you that there is some responsibility that is on to the governments to give more participation opportunity to the young people. But at the same time, as a young person myself, I feel we have to take that charge as well. Like we have to really like fight and push for it. And that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think I do agree. I think the other point is that if you think about what one of the motivation that we had to do the report was basically to say that we know it's a known fact that government will always play lip service to youth development. They just want to tick the box. They just want to say, we did this, we did that. It's not going to, because it doesn't really goes to the bottom line of elections. But now what has happened? In our last election, we had young people coming out as a result of the aftermath of the protest in mass to register to vote. Then what happened? When the voters registers came out prior to the election, we had over 42% of the electorate registered under the age of 30. So now you don't have any choice anymore. You have to engage because you need the vote. You have to promise. Now we have about 10 different initiatives looking at it and saying, you said in campaigns, they are monitoring it, they are auditing it. They say that we want to wait in 4 years, what you will do. Otherwise, when you come back to seek a re-election, we're going to deny the youth voice. And then you just vote in that case. And I think that government will not do anything because they like to. It's just the way government works. It's just because they are forced to. So you have to pretty much gather around, try to mobilize. And then one of the things that we've done with the report, for example, also is like to say, we want to engage. We've done the work for you. We already know what you need to do. Just put in the money to do it in your system. We've already heard young people saying they want an investment in education. They want this in this way. They want this in that way. They want economy. These are all the things. They want jobs. They want jobs. And then what do you want to do about jobs? So we had, and that's one thing that we've been able to do because we've taken it up from just saying we have a National Youth Council, we have a youth parliament, we have all of this system, but the leaders are sponsored by the governors themselves to be there and just get some nice cars from a house, and they're not really, they are being groomed to be politicians in 10 years to just do exactly what is being done. But now we're saying, we have a report, evidence-based involvement. If you really want to do something, this is what you can do. Engage and tell us what. And we're moving from offices to different positions to say that we present the report to them. We say, this is what you're saying, this is what we're doing. Please take this. Don't start from the scratch. We are halfway there already. Just engage with it. We have done the consultations for you. We've used it. Engage with the resource and then do something with it. So I think sometimes it just helps to just, we have to take initiative, just like you said, and then we have to meet government halfway, and then sometimes you just expect that things can just take ownership and just work from there.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. And I'll just throw a spanner in the works. The Secretariat encourages youth mainstreaming, right? So our heads of government mandated that all our governments must mainstream youth into all development planning. And that's a positive thing, because that's how we get to talk about young people in elections and political participation and peace and security and all the areas covered by the Youth Development Index. But then when we ask the questions about the budget, so how much do you actually give to youth development, youth work, youth engagement? Then they come back and say, here's our education budget. And we know that the education budget and the health budget are always the largest budgets, right? Yes. So it looks like all of this is for youth, education, everything. They'll say 80-90% of the education budget is for young people, it's for children and young people, and the health budget as well, right? So then it looks really great. So we're encouraging this mainstream, but the mainstreaming can also hide things, because when we can't know, we find it difficult to isolate what is the engagement part. And what we find is the ministries of youth that support that work and support the implementation of the national youth policies, where that participation element is couched, their budget is minuscule, but still expected to deliver on all of that, right? So that's a challenge. Yes, please.
I think I should go the other way.
Yes, our government representatives.
So I was the Minister of Youth in Barbados. I think we are a little more progressive in Barbados. My youth development budget is about $6 million. And this is one segment of the ministry. And there's several other areas. I have 32 or 30 officers who are engaged in youth work directly. And I need to speak to you better about your program. So yes, I understand what is happening in relation to the fact that a lot of youth are not being prioritized, but my government is fully cognizant of the impact of our young people. So hence we have put in a lot of funding behind several programs at the national level, the impact across the whole country. Not only the ones who are considered mainstream, but those who we would normally deem to be at risk. There's funding also to take care of that particular demographic. So unlike what the brother is saying, we are putting some finance behind our young people.
Good, thank you, Minister. We're glad for it. Youth workers, because you have youth workers in the government
What's the
administration.
name of the ministry?
Sorry?
What's the name of the full name of your ministry?
Youth, Sports, and Community Empowerment.
Okay.
So there's a nexus between all of them.
Okay, fine. All right.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. I think sometimes we talk about, government responsibility, and maybe so, of course, we talk about it. But what I'm seeing is society aren't really interacting with youth work and the importance of it, on a wider scale. And, I'm in the uniforms sector, and it's been a huge drop off in people wanting to be engaged and deliver programs at all levels. So I think we also need to promote, otherwise we're making ourselves to governments and different budgets. We also need to look at wider society and why are we not being valued? Because in terms of you talk about investment, we invest like £1 in young people and we get 6 back. But that's quite a long-term investment, and governments aren't really interested in long-term all the time, because if you go out into society and you say that, well, that sounds great, but if you have to wait 40 years for it, it's not, that government not going to be there. But I also think that attitude is in society. We live in the here and now, and we don't really appreciate the value of investment in the future, because the past year now, and obviously we have our own problems with cost of living crisis and stuff. But there does need to be a big push across wider society.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I just wondered how the youth councils and the regional youth unions and so on interact with other civil society organizations and so on, how you work together.
Right. I mean, I think it depends on the mechanism, but the ideal mechanism, how I see it, is that the youth councils are a representation of all the youth stakeholders, which involves the civil society organizations, the youth themselves, and the government representation, of course. So it's basically taking in the perspective of everyone, and it's coming through the lens of the young people. In terms of, sharing that responsibility with the society as a whole, I agree. I do feel that there is some push that needs to be propelled within the society to, achieve that youth development. It's also it's a concept, it's a mindset that has to be instilled. But to achieve all of that, you have to take those micro steps, like small steps. So establishing a space where the youth can connect with the government, establishing like some capacity building programs. And this is how you contribute to the society at a very small level, keeps on adding up, and then it has like a massive impact. So agreed with the point. I think it's just about approaching it. I personally feel that you have to take small steps towards getting to that bigger impact or that massive impact in the society.
But the more you break down the silos, the more that people become more sensitized to the role of youth workers. Like the more you talk, and you say, even if it's a small conversation initially.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, for example, in Nigeria, this is like, we have like multi-layer. You have the National Youth Council, you have the National Youth Parliament, you have the National Student Nigerian Student, you have the State Youth Parliament. Some states are having youth parliament. Yeah, so because it's been around for a while, there have been very different engagement layers that allows them to just like, no matter what, if you really want to engage and then there's something there, because there's a multi-layer opportunity to just at least feed into it. And then in terms of how the broader, for example, when we wanted to do this conversation, we just reached out to the Nigerian Youth Parliament, the speaker, and said, oh, can you recommend some of your members that will be looking forward to do this conversation with us? And then we had a meeting, and then that was our, by default, without having to do, they gave us people that are already doing the work locally. We didn't have to go do research and find people. Ordinarily, and that happens all the time. You see the youth parliament, because they are eager to engage. They understand that they don't have the budget, but they have the reach and the network. So there's a lot of collaboration happening within the civil society ecosystem and youth leaders across the different sectors. Yeah,
already in Nigeria. Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay, I'm going to take this question here, then second, third. Are there any other questions? We could take a round, and then I think we have to wrap up so that you can actually have a break before your next session. I think that's it, just 3. Oh, sorry, 4. Okay, thank you. So we start here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a comment and a question, but I think also in the youth work that we do, I mean, so any sort of social change work that's happening at the community level, typically, young people tend to be at the forefront and are usually guided by youth workers or people, community leaders, and everywhere that, I mean, like I come from India, and we don't really have labels. Like youth worker isn't really a recognized profession, but there are youth workers all the time doing all kinds of work. And I think the linkages, so I don't know what the experience has been, for example, in Pakistan or in Nigeria, because Nigeria sounds very similar to the Indian context. But when you have the sort of spaces that you're creating at the top levels, and at the same time you have sort of community approaches to youth leadership, where do they meet? And because the top level can only, I mean, finally the demand for young people to take center stage will come from people. It can become a political mandate, right? Like the younger your representative is, the more likely they'll get voted in, because we see young people taking charge in our communities, and we trust young people. And that'll happen when communities start buying that, as opposed to just having some sort of a youth representation as a separate category, but youth representation cutting across, how does that, how does that start taking shape? And I don't know if, I mean, I know it's early in Pakistan also, and, just how
Let me just ask you to hold the responses. I'll take all the questions and then we can give you the last word. So
Yes,
take
sorry,
that.
sorry.
Thank you.
I want you to give an example, and maybe the lady who put this question, I think it's very relevant to that question as well. Because in Pakistan, we have youth policies in different provinces. In 3 provinces, we have youth policies, and I'm talking about the biggest province, Punjab, where we have youth policy. And in youth policy, actually, there was a commitment that government will give a quota for local government. Government will give quota to youth in local government bodies. So when this policy approved, and after that, government gave this quota to youth in Punjab. And through this quota, 33,000 young people became part of local government bodies as representative and as youth councillors. So I think this is very interesting youth development model. And this is a connection between grassroots level and policymakers. So why I'm talking about, and I believe that we need to push government. I really acknowledge and recognize these efforts young people are doing across the globe. These are excellent and wonderful. But at the same time, we can't engage, and we can't engage these billions and billions of people. But when government comes and when government brings a policy and when government takes interest, then we can engage the whole community of young people. So this is one example which I want to.
Good example. Thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you.
So my comment is a little bit diverging a little bit from. I wanted to just first or a second to look at what I think is also very important, and it's the capacity building of our young people. Sometimes they're in spaces, but they are not trained to be in spaces to an extent what my colleague was saying here. And we have to look at how do we strengthen those leaders who are in those spaces that are making or representing on behalf of other young persons who can't be at the table. How are they being able to influence decisions? Or are they adequately prepared to be able to have those conversations that are taking place at some of those tables where decisions or policy decisions are being made that are so important? And I go back to say, we need to think about how do we involve technology in the development of the work that we're doing as youth workers and as youth leaders, right? And I further go to say the Commonwealth Youth Academy, and I'm going back to that because we need a platform through which we can engage young people. We can strengthen their capacity, where we can say, all right, we're doing a project in a community. How can we work with an entity to help to strengthen the capacity of these young people? And it goes back to the Commonwealth Academy because that's what we're doing. One of the projects that we intend on doing is to strengthen the national youth councils. And the national youth councils are the mandated body by government for each country. Where we're looking at how do we train the youth leaders of those various organizations to understand the mandate that they have as the national body. How do they interact with policies? How do they make policy decisions or contribute to policy conversations in a meaningful ways? And I say that to you to say that we have to now think about how do we involve technology or digital platforms in strengthening our young people and development support?
And then final question, and then I'll give you all the last.
As well, in terms of in spaces where youth engagement structures and quite needs, in Sri Lanka, for instance, where I'm from, while we do have a national council, it's sort of government-led, it's not the most independent body, but what we do have is various different partners in the development spaces, so like the Rotary, Scouts, and so on. And how can we really engage those groups as well? Because as what I said, it's important for young people. And there is a definite avenue where young people can become welcomers. So how can we kind of make those connections as well in spaces where these structures, but these platforms are not very strong. But yeah, just wanted to hear your thoughts.
So I think they're like sort of like different questions. So I'd rather wrap it up with a common comment that can kind of address some of these questions. So I'm in complete agreement that it's a mix of all the stakeholders that have to work together to achieve youth development across all the spaces, be it like education, policy work, youth leadership. I can see that there is lack of government interest especially in the developing countries. That's what my experience is. And that, based on that experience, I think that has led some of the work that I've undertaken or some of the initiatives that I've done, because it was getting frustrating. Like, how far do you want to sit and just wait for the government to take an action? I mean, if they're not doing anything, then you can just wait and, keep on waiting. Or you could take the charge and maybe start implementing something which is maybe not even affecting like 10 young people, but still it is doing something, right? So this is where we call the youth leader turning into a youth worker. As like one of my colleagues was quoting the youth policy in Pakistan, I have been part of those consultations with the government. In that consultation, it was, I think, 90% of the youth-led organizations or the youth stakeholders themselves. It was not the government's idea that they wanted to have the youth counselors in the local government body system. It was the youth's idea that pushed for that change in that policy that led to having a youth representation at a massive level. So if the young persons had not involved themselves into these kind of discussions, that probably wouldn't have come from the government themselves. So what I'm referring to again, even though I agree, like it has to be hand in hand, it has to go together, every stakeholder has to work together. And I think from the government's part, they're still doing some work. I just feel like the young people have a lot more. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. So if you want to move forward, if you want to progress, then the onus has to be a little more on the young people. That's what I feel.
I completely agree with Qasim. I think because of our population bulk, I think it is really important imperative right now that we have to be more vocal about our needs and demands from the government and drive change. I know, for example, in terms of in Pakistan, for example, what we have is there's a lot of conversation about like there's an economic crisis ongoing, and a lot of young people who are unemployed. The unemployment rate is really high in Pakistan, particularly for youth unemployment. I think it was around 40% or something for young people. So there's a lot of demand from young people to have modern technologies like actually 2 months ago, when there was this protest ongoing due to political situation, the government unfortunately banned internet, which impacted a lot of people who were young people who were employed, and mostly in the internet economy that we have, like like people who are doing deliveries or freelancing. So they were really, really impacted that the internet was shut down for 3 to 4 days. So there was a lot of voices from the young people who had access to internet using VPN, etc. They voiced a lot of their concerns that the internet ban is hurting the economy, and particularly the young people in this high inflation climate. So it did led a lot of conversations in the media, etc., and the policymakers that this should not happen again. So yes, like raising voice, and it needs to be from within that the young people need to take charge of.
Yes, I do agree. I think that the very largest, and I will agree more with everything on the idea of capacity development for young people, because I think that this may vary from government to government or from region to region, but they had some, if I speak for Nigeria or West Africa, where I've been heavily involved in terms of how much resources government has been putting. There is space. What's lacking in the capacity? There's already a general concession that we have to work with young people. The youth was important, then they have it already. But what is lacking is that how do you now get the right people to these positions? It's not just enough to have the bodies, the youth parliament, the youth councils, and then just take the box. But if you have to be sure that, yes, the democracy, you have these elections, but then it's really difficult to get people who actually have capacity to understand what representation means and what they should really need to do, in which direction. For example, you want to have a leader that's saying that, you know what, we want to demand that government raises the youth ministry's budget by so percentage. End of story. If you're not going to give us that, but then it's really difficult because the capacity to be able to have the boldness, the confidence to say that to your father, to to your leaders or to someone that even paid for your election. It's really tough. So the capacity to actually ensure that on one hand, the participation, I mean, maybe as Kazim was saying, what they've done in terms of at the initial stage, it won't really matter. Just have something there. But in places like Nigeria, where you've had decades of youth involvement and then you have this platform, but they're still not any functional like they have where they don't exist because they're just there. Then you want to think about the capacity that you want to give them. And that's why the Youth Academy is important. One of the things we also do, I'll be doing a session tomorrow about the role of technology in youth work, which is speaking to another part of this project that we did, that we had created a digital learning platform to basically teach active citizenship, but from a local context. Like if I am a young Nigerian and I want to learn about the constitution of Nigeria from a very simple way, there's something there for you to do. You can learn those things. And so we can, because what that project was from a premise that the purchase will have curated the better outcomes at the young people being prepared for, because what happens is for the first time in our country, it was really tough. Government, they saw like a possible regime takeover happen. And then they were forced to actually give attention to young people. But then you can't leverage that opportunity because there's no capacity. So.
Thank you so much, panelists. It was great to have two diverse contexts to engage with. I hope you'll continue the discussions in your break, talking about all of these issues of various kind of connections that need to be made between young leaders, youth workers, youth and civil society, youth leaders and youth leadership organizations and service organizations, the local grassroots and the national level, young people and their governments, and connections across space using technology. So keep those discussions going, and I hope you come up with some great solutions and plans of action based on collaboration. Thank you so much. This is the end of the session.